Stop hunting. Start finding. Choose the AT&T Real Yellow Pages with complete ads and up-to-date local listings to find just what you need.
Travel to Spain or Orlando Avenue. The finest restaurant featuring cuisine from Spain is open for business, lunch, and pleasure. El Bodegón, our very own 4-star restaurant, is open for business, lunch, and dinner. This is a true gem when it comes to real Spanish cuisine, featuring dishes like paella. El Bodegón also has a great wine selection. Enjoy a 4-star cuisine from Spain today for lunch or dinner at El Bodegón.
My universe is everything I imagine. I want to be a graphic designer. How can I get there? The Academy. It fits my busy lifestyle, and I can learn firsthand from instructors who've been there and know what it takes. Hey, my destiny is a career doing what I love, my way. My choice, my school. The International Academy of Design and Technology.
You imagine? We can get you there. Call 1-800-932-2900. 1-800-932-2900.
Hi, I'm Danny Ramos, and welcome to this week's edition of Hispanic Speak Out TV, brought to you on Bright House Cable 49 every Tuesday night at 9:30 p.m. And we have a surprise for you tonight. We have the first Tea Party candidate for Congress in the United States running in Central Florida against, guess who? Alan Grayson. Peg Dunmire is here with us. A lot of you people don't know what the Tea Party is all about, and here's your opportunity face-to-face with the first Tea Party candidate. Peg, tell us, what is the Tea Party for us?
Sure. It is a uprising of the everyday person who is just looking to Washington and saying, I don't like what's going on. I don't like the taxes. I don't like the legislation. I don't like how you're behaving. I don't like it. And so people who have never been involved in politics before have band together. Maybe they started off by writing letters, calling their legislators. Many local areas have Tea Party events. And this is the culmination in the progress of the movement to actually form a party.
Is this a backlash to the presidential elections with Obama? Because, you know, we had McCain running for president. McCain is Republican, kind of middle-of-the-road conservative Republican. And then Obama takes over. Obama is known as a socialist, and he's been called a socialist by many leaders in the black community. So is the Tea Party an actual whiplash type of effect politically as a result of what Obama is trying to do, what President Obama is trying to do with the reconstruction of the way the government handles its business in the United States?
Well, that's one way you could look at it. I think that this has been building for years. I think if we go back for at least the last 16 years, whomever we have sent to Washington, it's only a matter of time before people get disappointed. And so that disappointment has grown from disappointment to real disgust. And it didn't matter, it doesn't seem to matter whether we have sent Republicans or we've sent Democrats. The public does not like what's happening in Washington. And I have a theory on that. And I believe that the underlying reason that the public does not like what's going on in Washington is because our federal government has gotten so big. It's everywhere. And our federal government that is supposed to be shaped by our Constitution is supposed to be a limited government. It's not limited. And so everyone who we send just keeps building and making bigger and bigger legislation. And I think that the Obama administration and the onslaught of all the Democrats just really brought it all to a head. And but I think it's been coming for years and years.
Do you think there would be a Tea Party if McCain won?
I don't know. I really don't. I mean, I think it was just a matter of time before the people finally would rise up.
The Tea Party is an actual political organization now?
Yes, in Florida, there is an official party that has been formed. It's an official political party called the Florida Tea Party. And it has a platform. It is basically two areas. It's about finances and it's about the Constitution. It's silent on social and foreign issues. And of course, the candidate's not silent on those issues, but the party itself is about bringing financial sanity back into our government, you know, with over $12 trillion in debt. I mean, this is the first time in our government's, in our country's history where we are actually leaving the next generation worse off than our
Well, I know
current.
Social Security just went into the red about 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So now there is no money in the Social Security
Right.
coffer.
Right.
Right now we're borrowing money from China to pay senior citizens their Social Security.
Correct.
That's a disaster.
Correct.
And it's continuing to go on.
Well, another way to look at it is if you look at how you spend your money, that really is a reflection of who you are. More than half the money that we spend is nothing but transferring it from one person to another. Now, is that what the federal government is all about? Is simply transferring money from one person to another? I don't think so. And that's what the Tea Party is protesting. And they're saying, time out, time to bring this under control.
Okay. What made you decide, tell us, first I want to know a little bit about you.
Okay.
And then after that, what made you decide to run for Congress? Most people, when they run for a political position, they start, you know, okay, I might run for school board, or I might run for state rep if I got some money. And you just chomped at it and you went for United States Congress. So I want to know more about you personally. Tell us a little about who you are.
Well, kind of going backwards, I moved to Florida 10 years ago. I have my own business. I have a business called Dunmire Consulting, and I consult in the area of information technology and business process redesign, which means that I am very good at being able to look at a problem and be able to figure out the solution. I have a master's in hospital administration and finance. I was a chief information officer at Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh for 13 years. Prior to that, I was a medical technologist. So my career has really been in healthcare. So healthcare is my expertise. I also am a mother. I have 2 grown sons. One is in the military. He's a lieutenant colonel in our Army. And my other son is a commercial pilot who lives in or works in India because he's one of the people who is suffering from our economy not being able to support people here in the United States. So I am a mother, a grandmother, an entrepreneur, a business person.
How did you get to run for Congress? Where did that come from?
Well, I suppose it was really a moment in September 2008 when I looked at my retirement savings and said, you know, I've done the right thing. I saved my money. I'm part of the first generation where we have our own retirement. I don't have a pension. I have money put aside. And, you know, over a period of a very short period of time, like 2 weeks, I saw half of it go away. And that really made me very shocked. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, I'm also a former certified financial planner. So I took a lot of pride in the fact that I was very well diversified. I paid off my house. You know, I've done the right things. And here I am, someone who thought I was prepared for the future, really wondering whether I was going to have that future at all. So I assessed where are the problems. The problems are financial and the problems are healthcare. And those are my 2 areas of expertise. So I said, all right, at this time in my life, I'll put my business on hold. I am able to do that, and I'm going to step forward because I'm going to tell you, Danny, I just don't see people in Congress who have the expertise to deal with these problems. You know, and it was really confirmed during that whole health care debate, and I would hear congressmen and senators stand up and talk about things that clearly they did not know what they were talking about.
Is it that they don't know what they're talking about, or they don't want to get into the melee of the contradictions and the election problems that they would have by being straight up?
Well, it could be that. I mean, you know, I can't really get into someone's mind, but I really heard people
well, you know that
make
there was a lot of statements about political payoffs during the passing of the health care. Nebraska,
Right.
there were a lot of senators that got benefits for their districts. Hundreds of millions of dollars were doled out in order to buy their votes.
I'm probably talking more at the level of people making allegations that, you know, if you're pregnant, you can't go to a hospital and have your baby delivered. I mean, that's just an out-and-out lie.
That's another thing I wanted to ask you about. Okay. What is big Obama healthcare spending situation? A sixth of the economy is now going to be controlled by the government, reflected into the healthcare.
Right.
Offering health care to everyone, every citizen in the United States, no matter what your economic level is. Are you against providing health care for everyone, or are you against the process of how it's being done? Or do you think it should be, if you can afford it, you get it, and if you can't, you can't? What's your position on health care?
Yes. My position is the legislation that was passed is a total disaster. Total disaster because it is not going to deliver on what has been promised. And so we have millions and millions of people out there thinking that they are going to have this wonderful healthcare system, and what this is really going to do is ruin our healthcare system. I would much prefer to go to a model that I actually experienced. Up in Pittsburgh, Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh has a history of serving every single child in the tri-state area. Never did we turn away a child because of the inability to pay. So what does that tell me? It tells me that if the community really could get involved, that we really can take care of our own. It's not, the solution is not the federal government. In fact, every time we turn to the federal government, we don't get what we want. We don't, they cannot possibly live up to our expectation. So I think that if we could look at a model like Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh, that is a very, very real, viable alternative that just is not discussed. The second model is a more market-driven model where people have some variation of what's called a health savings account. And so if you have a certain designated fund, you can determine whether you want to have that mammogram at the age of 40 or at the age of 50. You can determine whether you want to go see a chiropractor
who finances the fund?
Well, there are many different options. It can be part of your insurance program. It could be self-funded. It could be part of the Medicaid program, part of the Medicare program. So there are a lot of options to it. I'm simply saying that I want to put the consumer back in the driver's seat to determine what is health care, what should be paid for, what service they want. It should not be in the hands of a group of bureaucrats sitting in Washington, D.C., which is what this Obamacare is all about. You are not going to have the choice to determine what your health insurance is all about. It's somebody else.
Well, I'm making friends with all my doctors. I'm having drinks with them, hanging out with them now, because I don't know what my access is going to be.
Well, you know, so many of them are saying that they're going to they're going to retire. You know, these are small businessmen and women, and you know, if you want to look at a population that doesn't want to be told what to do, you know, it is our physicians. They go out for the most part and, you know, set up their own practice. They have to hire people. You know, they are.
It's an overhead-intensive business.
Well, yes, and plus employees. They have a large staff often. You know, they provide a service, and all they ask is to be fairly compensated. And the problem that we have seen since the 60s. In the 60s is when our federal government really got into health care with Medicare and Medicaid. And every step along the way, they have underpaid anybody, whether it's a hospital, whether it's a doctor. So now we're going to have everybody underpaid. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, that's a consensus that I've gotten when I've spoken to the doctors because I visit them frequently. What is your major position difference between Grayson, if you picked one? Is it the healthcare issue? Is it national security? Is it financial? What do you see as his major misstep?
I think he looks for the federal government to solve your problems. I think he's sincere in saying that, you know, if you don't have health care, if you don't have food, if you don't have housing, if you don't have a job, well, we'll just provide it by the federal government.
That's really strange because he's entrepreneurial. He's a very successful businessman who decided to get into politics after he made millions of dollars in business.
Right.
So he was a pure capitalist, as pure as you can get, sold his business, made a lot of money, and now he's gone the other way. Maybe he can afford to be benevolent. I don't know. You know, I don't know.
He can afford to be benevolent with his own money. That's just fine. We encourage
Your problem
that.
is that you don't want to use your money.
I don't want him to be benevolent
using your money.
At the, you know, confiscating my money, which is what the tax system is. It is a, you know, it's a confiscation of your wealth.
How do you see the Afghan situation? Our military involvement in the Middle East, Afghanistan? You're running for, and the reason why I'm asking is because you are running for a federal position. It's U.S. Congress. It's not some local state rep.
Right.
So,
well, I mean, the first thing is that I'm totally supportive of our military. I want them to have what they need in order to get their job done. You know, so you know, I want to be very, very clear in that. Today, Karzai came out with some really strange comments, and so you have to be a little bit taken aback by this leader in Afghanistan. So I think that the president has a real job on his hand to get the leader of Afghanistan on the right path. You know, we're there. We've got to finish the job. We need to. We know when we left to go over to Iraq, the Taliban grew again. You know, this is evil. We have to deal with evil.
A couple of days ago, the Prime Minister of Iraq asked the military not to leave, the U.S. military not to leave.
Right. Well, that doesn't surprise me.
Because there are now more bombings and there's more. But is our job the job of the United States to peep the finger in the dike in all of these problem situations?
Well,
at what point is enough that we're sacrificing our young men to go over there? You know, kids coming out of high school dying in countries that they don't even know anything about. At what point is enough, or is this a situation which is the life existence of the United States at stake?
Well, I think that with our leadership role comes responsibility. And you must remember that all of the people who are joining the military now were all
yeah, they signed up
volunteer after 9/11. I mean, so they all know that this is a war. This is a war that is pervasive. You know, it doesn't just hit us; it hits all these other countries. You know, there are bombings everywhere, and so if not us, who? You know, I mean, I don't want us to be taken over by terrorists.
Do you think if we left Afghanistan, the United States would get hit?
Oh, I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any doubt.
So these Afghanistan is the finger in the dike.
These people are out to kill us. They are out to destroy us. They don't want us to be alive. So you know, you know, here we are in Central Florida, enjoying the beautiful sunshine and living our lives. You know, we aren't faced every single day with people in our face who really want to kill us. And so I think it's easy for us to almost not understand how serious this is. But this is really life or death. And this is life or death about civilization. It's not just about the United States. Do we want to have a civilized world? And we represent them. We are the leader of a civilized world.
Do you think that the situation in Afghanistan will go on and on? How long do you think that we have to be there? Really? I mean, I'm not asking for a political answer. I'm asking for the real bottom line. What do you think?
Well, you know, I think it depends on what kind of a relationship we end up having. If Iraq ends up being a country that really wants us to stay, it may be similar to Korea. You know, the reason we're in Korea is because we really never ended that
we never
war.
ended the conflict.
And we have our soldiers there really as a guarantee to the Koreans, to the South Koreans, that we will protect them. Now that's a model that Iraq may want, that's a model that Afghanistan may want.
But can we afford it?
Well,
because on one side of the fence, Peg, on one side of the fence, we're We're right now mortgaging the lives of your grandchildren and my grandchildren. So can we afford to spend that money now in Afghanistan? I mean, it's going to go on forever. I think one of the things that killed Senator who was running for office, McCain, was the fact that he said, we're going to be there for 10 years. And bam, they jumped on him right away on that.
Well, I think we spend about $800 billion a year in the military. That is the only major responsibility of the federal government. So I would say, let's look at what the federal government's responsibilities are. Now, I'm not saying that we can't be more efficient, with our military, and maybe we don't need as big of a footprint at some point, but that is the responsibility of the federal government.
I got another one for you. We have walked into these wars with foot soldiers. We have walked into these wars with microsurgery, military approach. Is that degree of political correctness the way that we should be going? In other words, should we be sacrificing our young people for the sake of microsurgery in war, meaning political correctness? Or should we just, World War II wasn't like that. We bombed the hell out of Berlin. We bombed the hell out of a lot of places in order to end the war.
Right. Well,
so how do you feel about that?
That's an interesting question. Well, as someone whose son is in the military, I know that he has told me that they are professionals and that they work very hard at doing a good job. So if you look at the difference in how many people were killed in World War II compared to how many people have been killed in the War on Terror, there's like no comparison whatsoever. And so, they have gotten very good at what they're doing, and we have, relatively speaking, very, very few tragedies.
It's a shame that people are getting killed at all, but the fact of the matter is there are more people getting killed in auto accidents in the United States in 1 year than have died in the Middle East at war.
Well, yes, we have over 50,000 people who die every year in car accidents. Right. And we have, in total, for the War on Terror, about 4,300.
Exactly.
And that has been going on since, 2001.
Yeah.
So for 9 years. So 9 times 50, 450,000 people we've had killed in car accidents. I don't hear the outrage for that.
Yeah. I just think that it's the idea of the guns and the conflict and all that. The positions that you take and that you have taken here tonight, are those the positions of the Tea Party as a whole, or do you consider yourself a trendsetter because you are the only candidate that has run for the United States Congress from the Tea Party, and you're the only organized election going on?
Well, the Florida Tea Party has, if you go out onto the website, they actually have a platform that you can read, but it's basically what I said, it's the Constitution and it's finance. I do consider myself a trendsetter, that I am part of an organization that wants to go the next step. Protesting is great. Let your voice be heard, but has it made a difference? No, we've got to send people to Washington to make a difference. And you can go under a Democratic banner, you can go under a Republican banner, but that's not really going to say that you're a Tea Party person. You go under the Florida Tea Party banner and you are sticking your neck out and saying, this is what I really stand for, I'm accountable for this. Send me to Washington and I will stop the spending, reduce the taxes, improve our economy, abide by the Constitution. That's what we stand for.
Are we going to have in the elections coming up now, are we going to have a really, really flashback against the Democrats for what's going on in the Congress right now? Do you think that...
Well, I sure hope so.
Okay, I know you hope so, but since you're a political expert, do you think it's going to happen?
It's what yes, I do.
You're staking your political career on it.
I sure am. I am staking my fame, fortune, and political career and everything else on this. I think that people are not happy with the Democrats in office. I mean...
Are they happy with the Republicans?
Well, they're more unhappy right now than they were. But that was my whole point. That's why we need the Florida Tea Party, because it's only a matter of time before people start being unhappy with our government. And they're unhappy because our federal government is too big. People want to live their own lives. We don't want someone telling us how to live our lives. We don't want government in our homes, in our schools, in our churches, in our businesses.
But you want to know something, Peg? There are people who do want that. There are people in this country who depend on government. You know that.
Yes.
And they want that. They want a government check to come in every month to pay their mortgage or pay their rent and pay their expenses. That's the way the Great Society back in the 60s.
Yeah, I was there.
Okay,
yeah.
I remember that too.
Yeah.
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
That was the Great Society.
Right.
And I think that really set the pattern rolling on gimme, gimme, gimme.
Well, I remember Lyndon Johnson and the Great Society. Okay. And I know that, you know, being a product of the 60s myself, we were very idealistic. You know, there was never a generation that was born into such blessings as my generation. And so we were very idealistic, and we really did think that this would make everything all better. We know it's not true, though. I mean, that's the difference. We know that that's not the path to happiness. Now, I understand that if you're a senior citizen and you're on Social Security, of course we want to honor what we have committed to. But you know what? If you are an able-bodied person and you are a younger person, and what is really holding you back is that you're not a high school graduate so that you can't get a good job, then I say let's get you educated so you can be a productive member of our society.
Peg, we just ran out of time, but you can come back, okay? So why don't you and I have a cup of tea? Let's get this tea rolling, okay?
Okay.
With the Peg Dunmire Cup of Congress.
Yes.
And we'll pour some tea that came from Boston, that you bought from the Boston Tea Party.
Right.
And we will see you next week on Hispanic Speak Out TV. We'll have you back. Don't forget, visit us again.
Thank you.
It's 4 o'clock. You want to dial in?
Yeah, you know, these calls would go a lot better if we had an office.
This is our office.
This is your daughter's dorm room, Bob.
Listen, we have internet, telephone,
dorm
lounge. It's all free.
You could just do business at FedEx office. They've got Wi-Fi, workstations. A lot of them are open 24/7. It'll still save us an overhead.
Hey, baby. Here, give me sugar. You got a room.
Technically, this is her room.
Hello, we're on.
We understand. You want less overhead. FedEx office.
My universe is everything I imagine. I want to be a graphic designer. How can I get there? The Academy. It fits my busy lifestyle, and I can learn firsthand from instructors who've been there and know what it takes. Hey, my destiny is a career doing what I love, my way. My choice, my school. The International Academy of Design and Technology.
You imagine? We can get you there. Call 1-800-932-2900. 1-800-932-2900.